Hey everyone, it's LS, and this is the FlyQuest 13.13 patch notes rundown for League of Legends, and it is quite a large patch. And as a quick reminder, this will be a 3-week long patch due to Riot's usual mid-year break. So this is obviously coming before the ranked reset is going to end up happening, and that is a little bit sad because that does mean that Naafiri is going to end up getting here a little bit later, and this is just, you know, that's how it's going to be going. But I'm going to be playing Naafiri on PBE later, and I'm very excited for that because her numbers are out, and there's probably going to be a video on my main League of Legends YouTube channel of just playing Naafiri with viewers and stuff, and so hopefully that goes over well. Okay, so patch 13.13, we are seeing all of the nerfs, and then there's just 2 buffs. So this is the Cataclysm patch, okay? This is this really is Cataclysm. This is just the Cataclysm patch. So mid-season ranked reset, ranked rewards are coming out. The Victorious skin model now features the season 2023 split 1 Victorious skin reward, Victorious Anivia. It's actually really pretty in-game. Ranked in start end dates. Okay, so for all of the regions, you guys can see here that July 19th is when a lot of the regions are going to get their ranked resets. And it seems like in Asia, it's actually going to be later. So China is going to be July 21st, Taiwan July 20th, Thailand is also going to be July 20th, Vietnam, Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, Philippines, etc. These are all on July 20th. Now, Korea is actually getting it pretty early, as well as Japan. So July 19th, that will be available. Okay, so rank changes in Split 2. So rank changes will be removing promotional series between divisions, reducing the amount of placements games go from 10 to 5, and additionally they're adding Emerald tier, a new rank between Platinum and Diamond. Looking to learn more about these changes, we'll check out the full post. Okay, so obviously Emerald is coming. Now if you guys did not see the official post, you didn't see the Twitter, you did not see the Rioter tweet about it, etc., there are going to be a percentage of diamonds that will fall into Emerald. And then obviously the Apex tier, Master, Grandmaster, and Challenger is going to get smaller. And then Emerald and Platinum and all that other stuff is going to end up swelling. And that is going to be where I think the swelling ends up occurring between the low diamond, platinum, and gold players that will be, you know, just playing a lot of games and whatnot. I think that's where it's going to go. Okay, so we get into the changes. Annie, Q magic damage is decreased. So Disintegrate. So 80 to 220 plus 80% AP to 70 to 75% AP. 70 to 210 plus 75% AP. So this isn't the end of the world. In the later stages of the game, Annie is still going to insta-pop someone, and they're going to die. So the base damage is not the most important thing that is going away, except for when you consider CSing early on. That is really going to be the only instance in which this is going to do something. Now, losing 5% AP, even in the early stages of the game where Annie gets her first item, she's only going to have around 100 AP, right? So you're actually talking about her Q, which typically only comes out 2 times in a rotation. We're literally talking about a 10 plus the 10 base damage. We're talking about 20, then it goes through resistances, etc., base damage loss. Now, is that going to translate necessarily to a kill in the early game? I think it's very unlikely. So Annie players don't really need to freak out about this. I think that there's a lot of stuff going on for Annie. She's been in a fantastic place for so long. She's literally the queen. So that is just how it is. Okay, Aphelios. Severum lifesteal decreased. Gravitum slow duration decreased. Crescendum base attack speed decreased. Aphelios is the #1 bot laner in pro play by a long shot and has been a top performer since March. Oh, I completely disagree that he's not the #1. So maybe he's the #1 most picked and performance that wise, obviously in pro play, but I do not think that Aphelios in his current balance state is actually the best marksman player or marksman champion. Severum the Scythe Pistol. Lifesteal on attacks 2.5 to 9%, levels 1 to 18 to 7.1%, levels 1 to 18. So again, not really a massive nerf. Lifesteal on abilities 8.33 to 30% to 5 to 17.75%. So that one is obviously really big. So they are slicing his sustain and they're slicing his ability to survive in bot lane as well as mid-game standoffs. Gravitum, the gravity cannon. Slow duration on attacks 3.5 seconds to 2.5 seconds. So the thing about Gravitum slows is I feel like when Aphelios is unironically autoing you with Gravitum, he feels bad in a lot of cases. And I feel like, in general, his Gravitum gun is only to use the Q, and the slow being a 1-second differential I do not think matters. Crescendum. Sentry base attack speed 0.8 to 0.64. I don't think this actually matters, that much. I think these are fine balance changes for Aphelios. Obviously, he's still going to be picked in competitive, and now people can't complain that he wasn't nerfed. Ivern, W on hit magic damage decrease, R Daisy movement speed decrease, slam base damage decreased. Okay, so these are two things that were not, I believe, listed in the preview, so that's kind of cool. W Bushmaker 30 to 60 plus 30% to 20 to 50, so he's losing 10, okay? So he's losing 10 base damage on each auto attack, and then he's losing 10% AP. Now, Ivern doesn't get a lot of AP, so losing 10% AP does not actually matter all that much. Losing the 10 base damage is massive for lane Ivern. It's very, very big for mid, top, and support Ivern, and that is actually kind of a big deal. So, I mean, it does hurt lane Ivern. He's still going to be fine. He's going to be able to go even and stuff. It's just that some of the lanes where he's going to bully is definitely not going to be able to bully anymore, because we're actually talking about the, missing like 2 auto attacks worth of damage in a lot of lanes. Our Daisy, basement movement speed is 440 to 430. This is still up from where Daisy was previously to the Ivern buffs, which was 419. So Daisy players are still going to be able to rejoice. Daisy slam damage 40 to 80 to 20 to 60. So the slam damage going down in addition to Ivern losing W damage. There's actually a lot of damage missing from Ivern, but it's okay because all of the buffs that he ended up getting is just way too big in terms of his utility. Kindred, base health and armor decrease. Griffin's Climb is just done, guys. It's just Jover. Base health 610 to 580, and base armor 29 to 26. So it's almost kind of like Kindred is missing 2 auto attacks worth of HP, which does make her a lot weaker early on. It makes her a lot easier to 2v2 her. It makes it a lot easier to 3v3 her. And even Invader. Q Lee Sin. Damage is increased. Q Sonic Wave Resonating Strike. Sonic Wave 55 to 155 plus 110% bonus AD to 55 to 155 plus 115% bonus AD. Resonating Strike 50 to 155 plus 100. Okay, so he's basically just getting 5% bonus AD on both activations of his ability, right? And then the maximum damage is obviously going up by 10%, right? So that's the maximum. So 10%. Okay. So these are Lee Sin buffs. And so he's not actually getting any base damage buff, so it's all the bonus AD. So he doesn't actually start feeling this until later on. Is it magically going to make Lee Sin competitively viable? Absolutely not. Our pro players are going to see this, see that Lee Sin was buffed again, start playing him, have varying results inside of scrims, and then determine that he's actually competitively viable? Absolutely, guys. So look forward to seeing Lee Sin return in competitive. Neeko, Q cooldown increased, W adjusted, R adjusted. Finally, they are hitting her. Okay, so Q Blooming Burst. So this is her first maxed ability in lane and inside of the jungle. Q cooldown 7 to 9 to 7 seconds. So it goes back to where it's at later. And the other thing is that rank 3, you guys always hear me talk about this, rank 3 is really what you need to look at. Rank 3 is 8 seconds. So it's actually more like she's getting 1 second added. Now, the trading for her level 1, 2, and 3 is significantly nerfed because the additional 2 seconds at the rank 1 on the Q. So it is noticeable, but Neeko players are just they're gonna be just fine because she is probably she is one of the strongest laners in the entire game right now. W Shape Splitter, proc bonus damage 50 to 170 plus 60% AP to 40 to 180 plus 60% AP. So so wait, I'm sorry. So what is going on here? So the base damage is up later. The base damage is up later. So on hit Neeko actually got a buff. Okay. So one of the things that I didn't mention is I believe that on hit Neeko maxes W first. And so for W first on hit Neeko, the Q change is actually a problem, but it's not the end of the world because you're casting it in very situational spots. Now the fact that the base damage is going up on W is actually kind of crazy. Okay. Our Pop Blossom. Channel disguise duration, Neeko's disguise for the entire 1.25 second. All right, I mean the disguise doesn't really matter. I mean you can tell when Neeko is actually probably pressing R on you. It's just a thing for solo Q. And that's where the nerf is, going to be. Nidalee, base movement speed is increased. Base movement speed is going up by 5. Amazing, guys. Amazing. Amazing. Okay. Rek'Sai, base AD decreased, base health decreased, okay? We're happy to see that updates to Rek'Sai's passive healing and Queen's Wrath ability in 1311 have shifted her into a fighter pattern, but we feel that the ability to clear camps and shrug off damage during skirmishes is too strong. To address this, we're reducing some of Rek'Sai's stats to slow her down in the jungle and reduce the safety of her engages. You pop off Queen just a little bit less, please. True. Base attack damage 61 to 58, base health 640 to 600. Okay, so the base AD is not the most important. I would argue that it's actually maybe a little bit more important in like top lane Rek'Sai. Now, the missing of HP is also very impactful for top lane Rek'Sai, and so that does feel very, very bad. So jungle Rek'Sai, I don't think is actually competitively viable anyway. I think that it's more so a solo Q menace than anything else. And for top lane Rek'Sai, these are actually massive nerfs. Rell, aka Michaela, health regeneration. Growth decreased, base armor decreased, MR growth decreased, Q damage to monsters increased, W shield decreased, dismounted attack speed adjusted, E monster damage decreased. Okay, so health regeneration down by a very little amount. Base magic resistance down by 2, doesn't matter, except against Gromp inside of the jungle. Magic resistance growth is also down. I don't know why they're not just cleaning up the numbers. That's kind of weird, but it's sort of whatever. So they're making her more susceptible to magic damage, which obviously like enchanters and stuff, they go up against her traditionally, like Alistar. Well, Alistar's not an enchanter, he's a bruiser, but he deals magic damage, so actually Alistar hits Rell harder now. In addition to that, there's like, you know, Janna against Rell is another option, Milio against Rell. All these champions are dealing magic damage to her, and so she's taking more damage against her counters. Q. Shattering Strike, bonus damage to monsters 150 to 430 to 170 to 470. No max Q first now. I bet that's from Freak. Amazing, amazing. Okay. So the bonus damage to monsters, we'll see what this is. W Ferromancy, Crash Down, Mount Up, Crash Down Shield, 35 to 135 plus 12% of the maximum HP to 15 to 110 plus 12% of the maximum HP. So the W is now going to be dealing, I mean, yeah, okay. So the W is not going to be giving as much shield. Dismounted attack speed, however, is massively up. Wow, it's very, very, very up. And now E full tilt, bonus damage to monsters, 100 to 280 to 120 to 300. That is amazing. Wow, okay. These are all really, really, really good Rell changes, and I'm excited to see her inside of the jungle. And obviously for support, it just makes her counter picks better against her, and everything else there is fine. Varus, W on hit magic damage increased. Damage per blight stack is decreased. W, blighted quiver. On hit magic damage 7 to 27 plus 30% to 7 to 27 plus 35%. So he's getting more on hit in terms of the AP. So if he has Nashor's Tooth, then he's getting 5 more extra damage on all of his autos. Damage per blight stack 3 to 5% plus 2.5% per 100 AP of target's maximum HP to 3 to 5% plus 1.5. So he's losing 1% per 100 HP of target's maximum HP. This is actually, in most cases, this is going to be anywhere from like 60 to what? It's going to be anywhere from like 60 to upwards of, what, 120-ish damage missing from his W. So it's not the end of the world. He is getting damage on, you know, the on hit, right? But he is losing damage on his burst, which I think is totally fine. W, passive Vi shield decreased. R cooldown increased. Okay, so passive blast shield 13% of maximum health to 10% maximum health. R cease and desist, cooldown 120 to 80 to 140 to 90. So this is only really impacted for solo queue. The 15 seconds at rank 2 does not matter at all. And then the 3% maximum health, especially in the early stages of the game, we're talking about a very low amount of health. It does not matter. Okay, we're like, when we're talking about 30, 50, 60, 70 health or something in mid game on Vi, it doesn't really matter. Now, I do celebrate the fact that Vi is nerfed, and maybe people will overreact to it and they will think that she's not good anymore, etc. The reality is that these changes they don't mean anything. It's not going to change why you would be picking Vi. You're not going to be in the pick ban and think, oh man, Vi's cooldown is up by 20 seconds, but actually I played 100 games of Vi, and the amount of times where I immediately cast cooldown, or I immediately cast cease and desist as soon as it was off cooldown is like almost never happened, right? Except in solo queue, maybe. And for passive, the blast shield, I mean, missing that HP at that stage of the game just does not matter. Especially because it's a passive. It's not actually HP just missing outright. Wukong, E damage to monsters modifier removed. Damage to monster modifier 120 to 100%. This is definitely a nerf to Wukong. However, if you guys do remember, there were the tweets last time Wukong was nerfed saying that Wukong was dead. And it was then that the former head coach of C9 No, not me. I'm talking about Max Waldo. Ended up going into Practice Tool and comparing his ability to full clear on Wukong against actual competitive matches that were played in spring by pro play junglers. Max was able to clear faster than the pro play junglers on the nerfed Wukong while they were playing on the unnerfed Wukong, thus showing that your ability to pay attention to detail while actually clearing the jungle and min-maxing your spellcasting, your auto attack, your kiting on the jungle camps, etc. was actually more important for the clear speed than the nerfs would actually imply. I imagine that likewise this is going to be the same thing, and thus you will still gain access to the Wukong that you desire to have in the early to mid transition, and then, you know, having the 2-item Wukong in mid game. Items: Duskblade of Drakthar, bug fix. Scoring a takedown while channeling will no longer proc Duskblade's untarget ability. This is amazing. Very, 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 very big nerf to Samira, who has been, you know, using stuff like this, and obviously they reference Misfortune. And there's some other champions, obviously, as well. Essence Reaver. Spellblade damage, 100 base AD plus 40% bonus AD to 130% base AD plus 20% bonus AD. So this is a... Okay, so the 130% base AD is actually really interesting as a Spellblade proc. This makes it a lot better for certain bruisers to potentially go Essence Reaver. Now, the bonus AD is also interesting for champions that don't build a whole lot of bonus AD. Yes, I'm looking at you, Corky, right? If you were to build, like, Essence Reaver. And obviously, I mean, I guess Ezreal, he builds varying amounts, right? And then the other... Now, what this does end up nerfing is it does nerf Draven, right? Draven, I do believe, gets hit very hard by this Essence Reaver change, and there's some other champions that get tagged as well. Statikk Shiv, the item that everyone overreacted to. This item, I swear to... this item was the most overreacted item. I was gone... Guys, I almost died. I mean, kind of no exaggeration, right? I was on double IV. I was on oxygen at the hospital. I was hospitalized. I had the flu and pneumonia. And I had a fever that for 12 days never went below 38.5 Celsius and would sort of like peak at like 39.2. And it just wouldn't break. It would not respond to medication. It was very insufferable. Anyways, while I was almost dying, apparently Statikk Shiv went rampant in pro play. And so one of the things that I'm going to say is that if you were building Statikk Shiv on anyone except for LeBlanc, you're grieving. You're just actually grieving. Now, Zoe, I don't know if she ever actually came out, but the reality is even Statikk Shiv on LeBlanc, I don't actually know how to feel about it in a competitive setting, because I think there's a major difference between a competitive setting and a solo queue setting, where Statikk Shiv inside of laning phase, being essentially AD LeBlanc, is going to be way more oppressive in mid and top lane, because junglers aren't going to coordinate to bail out laners, and laners are going to play in a way that is not around their jungler, and they're just going to play in naturally a greedier way. Thus, LeBlanc's laning phase power is going to be considerably up. Now, if you guys saw a lot of the games surrounding Statikk Shiv, there was a lot of games where LeBlanc's just stuck on Statikk Shiv, and the kill score is 0-0, and nothing is actually happening. She has basically no ability haste, and sure, her damage is there on the auto attack and the static proc, but she's missing a lot of utility, and then as she builds into her second item, she's very, 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 very stunted. And it reminded me of old Sylas and Gallios that would get very stunted after first item completion or something, and then they would build Zhonya's, and then they were stunted for the entirety of the game. So, Statikk Shiv was only really viable on LeBlanc. A lot of other people were playing Statikk Shiv on an abundance of champions that had no business really playing it. Now, I will say that when I'm referencing this, I mostly am mentioning the non-traditional Statikk Shiv champions. I am not referring to Kai'Sa. So Kai'Sa, I think, is totally fine if you're going to do that Statikk Shiv. I think that, like, Varus, AP Varus, I think that is totally fine as well. Mostly what I'm referring to here is, like, the players building it on, like, Akali, or something, or like the players that would build it on Ahri, right? I think that in these instances, Statikk Shiv was always just terrible. I think that LeBlanc had merit, and I think that Marksman had merit. Now, I do think that there is another Statikk Shiv user that no one is playing it with, which is Corky, and I do think that Corky is a three-way flex right now. I think that he's very viable in mid-top and even AD carry, but no one's playing him. So, anyways, now that we got that out of the way, let's read the energized minion damage. 250 to 450 based on level plus 125% AP. To 240 to 450 plus 0% AP. Amazing, amazing. Okay. Energized non-minion damage is also down by 20% AP. So, if you build AP, this item is just nerfed. So if you are an AP user, this item is significantly nerfed. That is just the reality of the situation. So with that being said, are you still going to buy Statikk Shiv? Well, yes, some champions will absolutely still buy Statikk Shiv. Now, is the wave clear the only reason for purchasing this item? And the answer, I think, is no. I do not think that the wave clear is the only reason to purchase this item. So I think in that regard, of the champions that I just mentioned, I do think that Corki ends up surviving the Cataclysm here because he doesn't actually build AP when he builds Statikk Shiv. He just ends up building Statikk Shiv, and then he builds Triforce, and he builds Mirror Mana, and all of these great things. So I think in that regard, Statikk Shiv is going to be fine on Corki. Now, for Varus, because of his Q and because of his E, I also think that Statikk Shiv on Varus is also still going to be fine. Now, for Kai'Sa, I'm not sure exactly how she's going to feel about this with the new build that she does end up having, but I think for all the other champions, this is going to definitely be nerfed. And just gone. Stormrazor, energized damage 15 plus 60% AD plus 52% AP. 90 plus 25% AD plus 0% AP. So, they're making Stormrazor's proc only for AD. So they're undoing already. We are 2 patches in, or 3 patches in now. 4 patches in, actually. Sorry. We're at 4 patches in, and they're already undoing a lot of like the really fun stuff that they did by adding AP ratios and all this other stuff. Thus nerfing, you know, combo synergy with like Gwynsu's and whatnot, which I think is one of the ideas that Riot actually had when they were making these items, and obviously like Akshan and Vayne and all these other champions getting ratios. Okay, so ARAM changes, Mythic Shop rotation. Leaving the Mythic Shop is Prestige DRX Atrox, which is one of the best skins in the entire game. Now, that is pretty much it. So, let us just recap really quick before we get to the most important patch of the, point of the patch, which is the skins. Stormrazor does not really matter all that much. It's still going to be totally fine. Statikk Shiv is going to be dead, except for, I think, Corki and Varus in most cases. I think for all the other champions, they're no longer going to build it, and that is just sort of how it is. Okay, Essence Reaver. Spellblade proc is buffed for certain champions, but a very big hit to, like, Draven. Duskblade of Drakthar is mostly just to keep Samira in line. Wukong is going to be fine. Go into practice tool, learn how to properly clear, pay attention while you're clearing on stage, and you're still going to be able to pick Wukong. Same goes for Vi. Varus is not the end of the world. It's just that his poke is going to be a little bit worse, and then obviously his ability to shred tanks, well, he's already 2 comboing them anyway, so it does not really matter. Rell is going to be a lot better inside of the jungle, and her counter picks are going to be better against her. Rek'Sai is nerfed for top lane, but not really that much for jungle. Nidalee is completely irrelevant. Neeko on hit is massively buffed, but no one's really doing on-hit Neeko. And then outside of that, I would actually argue that Neeko in general is probably... in a weird way, I'd say that she's buffed, guys. I really would. I would actually say that she's buffed. There's going to be some matchups where it just doesn't matter that her Q has increased duration until level 5. In mid lane, it's just not going to matter because of the nature of the matchup. And obviously, inside of the jungle, she is going to be stunted a little bit. So her clear speed inside of the jungle, but mostly we're seeing Neeko in mid lane. So with that in mind, I think Neeko unironically was buffed. And I know that sounds really weird, but it is just 10 base AD, but still, it's very strange. Lee Sin, players are going to overreact. Kindred actually is heavily nerfed. Ivern is nerfed for lane, not for jungle. Aphelios doesn't matter, and Annie likewise doesn't matter in competitive, but it is going to matter more in solo queue, where just arbitrary queues and stuff like that are going to be a lot more meaningful, and now you actually are less incentivized to take Ignite on Annie in solo queue, even at lower MMRs, and look for lethal ranges. Now, let's get to the most important parts of the patch. Oh my lord. So I do believe that this is Elderwood Karthus. Yes, sir. Okay, so Elderwood Karthus is going to be coming. Honestly, this looks like a World of Warcraft character. I forget what his name is. It's the warlock that ends up like going to the world tree or something, and I don't know why I'm forgetting on his name, but yeah, he really does look like a warlock in this skin. I think this skin looks amazing, at least in terms of the splash art. We're gonna end up seeing how it actually looks in game. All right, we move on, and Wukong just got nerfed, but they also gave him a skin. Now, normally, you guys might think, well, Riot, why would you do that? Why would you nerf a champion and also then make a skin for him? Ha! Well, that's where Riot has you, you know, has a gotcha moment. Wukong mains are dumb, okay? So Wukong mains will not be able to read the nerf that ended up happening. And so because of that, all that they're actually going to see in this patch is a completely foreign language, and then they're going to see that their champion got a skin, thus they're going to buy it. Absolutely, apes together strong. So we move on here to Orianna. See, I didn't even have to lower the... You know, I did not have to turn off full screen in order to know this. But this skin looks really cool. Honestly, there's a human element to Orianna. And is this the first time that we have a human element to Orianna? This is Orianna, right? It is. So off the top of my head, I'm thinking, is this the first time we've ever seen Orianna have a human form where she's not the Clockwork Lady? And I wonder if this is lending a little bit of merit to the idea or the lore or something, or the theory or something, I could be totally off here, that this is Victor's girlfriend from Arcane that ends up getting exploded in the explosion. Spoilers. No, I don't actually know if that's the case, but that would be really cool. She's getting a human form. All right, so we move on here to Star Guardian Seraphine. Absolutely amazing. This also looks like Senna or something, right? In the background, the absolute giant gun or something like that. I don't really know what to think of this. These things look like Kirby's. I'm just being totally honest. Seraphine, I assume, is one of the most popular champions in the skin. The skin is not really doing it for me though, so we're just gonna move on. So this is what the skin looks like in game. Wow, this is amazing. This is a really, really pretty looking skin. This is one of the best skins in League of Legends, I think. Wow, this is amazing. This is genuinely amazing. What an amazing skin. Okay, move on to Wukong. The Wukong skin is also really cool. He kind of looks like an Oni. He looks like an Oni from, like, you know, various video games, especially like in the older years. I really love the color layout on Wukong here. I genuinely like it. I genuinely like the Wukong skin here. Okay. And then we move on, and okay, we got Star Guardian Orianna, and this skin, honestly, the base skin is just the most pretty. It looks very, very, very nice. The color scheme is amazing. The layout is, it's elegant. It has a lot of elegance to it. And so I think that, yeah, it's very, very nice. And I believe that is it. Oh no, there's Star Guardian Seraphine, which, what is she even standing on, man? I mean, honestly, this looks like an archer or something from like Ragnarok Online or something. I'm not really sure. But that is it for the patch 13.13 notes rundown. And as always, the patron tier list will end up going up within a few days for 13.13. There was none for 13.12, but that is going to be totally fine because 13.13 is just going to rectify everything. There was nothing for 13.12 because I was so sick. And that is pretty much it. So I will see you guys all in the next one. And don't forget to subscribe to the FlyQuest YouTube channel here. And yeah, I believe that also 13.14 preview... Oh, no, we are on 13.13. Yeah, 13.14 preview will also be on the FlyQuest channel next week as a one-off. And that is it. See you guys later. Bye-bye.